What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Brutal Planet Comics. I'm your host, Trey, the Brute Daniels. What another glorious day it is, because another episode of the Indie Corner, where I sit down with everybody from the Infamous community, writers, artists, directors, producers. Doesn't matter if you're in the game, I want to talk to you. And today I have a returning guest, one of my favorite people. She is the editor-in-chief of ASAP Imagination, and she is the creator of Sister Grimm. Give it up, everybody, for Laurie, aka L.A Cunningham.
Hey, Jay.
What is going on, my friend? It is good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It has been a while, so it's fun to be back on your show.
Exactly. It's been way too long. Way too long. So, since the last time you were here, which was a couple years ago now, good God, time is flying. Like ASAP was just taking off, and a lot of other things that you guys were working on over at ASAP, Anyone World, all that great stuff was just at its infancy. So, you've come back to the Indie Corner. What you got going on now?
Well, I'm here to promote things. I mean, just to catch up, no promotion. But yeah, like last time I was here, I think we would have been promoting just our anthology, which is Points of Virtue, or Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue. Mm-hmm. And now I don't, at the time, like maybe I'd have to go back and watch our show, to be fair, but like I don't remember if by then I was already committed to writing a comic, but
I think
from
at the
that
time
anthology,
you had just like it was still a twinkle in your eye of writing it.
I think it was behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Hades was still like, hey, you should write a comic, and I was just like, no, because I think we just came on like a couple months after that book launched. Mm-hmm. So by then I was probably still a little reluctant to be like, I'm not gonna write a comic. and now I'm here to talk about issue 3. Mm-hmm. To be fair, 1 and 2 as well, but
exactly.
Yeah.
So since then, Sister Grimm has started its own pretty much collection at this point. We're at number 3. So my listening crowd wasn't there for 1 and 2 for the whole rundown. So give us a little taste, Laurie. Like what is Sister Grimm? What's the arc looking like? What are we in for?
Okay, so I have the books. So I'll walk people through it, because just for those who don't know. So this was why I was here the last time. Mm-hmm. This was our Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue anthology. There's a flip book, and there's 2 stories in it, where at the time we weren't telling anyone who wrote what, but because a comic book character came out of them. In Points of Villainy, there's a story called Sweet Dreams, which follows this little girl basically as her parents are fleeing an alternate London. She doesn't know what's going on, but it's very much like from an innocent perspective, but like as the reader, you're like, oh, she in trouble. And then you flip it over, and Points of Virtue is kind of like the quote-unquote happier stories, like slightly happier endings. And then there's a story in there called Angel of Death, which features Lily Connors, which is that little girl's mom, and she's a doctor, and she's basically drops off her family, and then she wants to go back to London and try and help people. She's like, maybe there's something I can do. But as she's like going along the way, she's basically having these encounters, and she's being haunted by people, past patients that she's been unable to save. And then eventually culminates in this kind of physical interaction with death. Mm. And then so from there, the first issue of Sister Grimm happens 3 months later, and she basically wakes up in a morgue, and she doesn't have any memories since the event, and she doesn't know if her family's alive. And she has these new abilities that she's trying to deal with. So the first issue kind of just sets the scene there. And then the second issue, at the end of the first, I can throw in some spoilers, but like we have some trading cards and stuff. So there's, if you're like following along, you like know what, but she has a ghost that she like eventually kind of pairs up with a little bit.
Okay.
And he basically, yeah, he's like the little chatty sidekick. So she kind of ends up with him, and so in the second issue, you learn more about him, and you learn more about her, and like what's going on, and like some more details. And then issue 3, it's kind of like her exploring her abilities. She's kind of, because the first 2 issues, she's very much afraid of who she is, and like trying to come to terms with who she was versus who she is. And then the third issue, she's just like, okay, like what can I do about this? Like instead of being the victim and just being scared, like let's try and own this and see what I can do. So it kind of follows into that. So it changed the like mood of it changes a little bit. So it's a little more like starts to become a little more action packed, I suppose.
Got it. Well, peaks and valleys. That's what it's always about.
Yeah, that's the story.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that's really good, and it's really good. And thank you for that succinct rundown, which I knew that you would deliver. So that's that's excellent. So we have a Kickstarter that will be going live momentarily. So let's go ahead and take a look at what you got going on. Okay, here we got this Sister Grimm 1 through 3 Kickstarter, and my oh my, I can already see, like I already know all the good work that you guys been doing, but just walk us through a bit. Who are the outside of yourself, who else is involved in this project that helped brought this to life?
So the main artist on it is Nicolas Nieto. He's from Argentina, and we just got basically paired up through another artist that works with ASAP. And yeah, he just had this like kind of gritty watercolor style that was like almost a little like melancholy, and we kind of like decided to kind of limit the color palette on this to kind of create a mood for it. And he just ended up being like this like great asset, like super talented. So he was able to kind of like bring this to life. And so he does layouts and pencils and inks and colors and the covers. And then on the first 2 issues, we had a letterer, C. Hess. They were unavailable to kind of move forward. So for issue 3, we have George Medina, which I'm sure a few people know.
Of course, George. Of course.
Yeah, so lured George into the mix. So
of course. I'm pretty sure had to drag him kicking and screaming. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah, George is pretty willing, thankfully.
Yeah. So this is really good, and you actually kind of jumped the gun on my next question. I was about to ask why this type of color palette, but you touched on it because it is supposed to be a little bit more gritty, a little bit more dark. But was there anything like in regards to the direction for the color that you wanted to hit on specifically to bring it to life?
Not so specifically. Like we just kind of were. I feel like her story is very much a mood. Like yes, of course, there's a story and like there's like dialogue and stuff, but like it's very much like it's like this very melancholy vibe where it's like this kind of story about like letting go of who you are and like kind of stepping into who you can be. So to me, I don't know. Just obviously didn't make sense to have like bright, flashy colors. And I think just having like, we very much like the purples and greens and pinks are kind of the main color. And then there's kind of like a secondary palette in there as well for kind of highlight things with like some blues and oranges and stuff. But yeah, I think just like limiting on it it helped create the mood. And I don't know specifically why those colors worked. Like, I'm sure there's some artist who could be like, oh yeah, this is why this like feels right. Could explain all the color theory.
Yeah, like sometimes less is more. I don't know. Yeah, sometimes less is more. Absolutely, 110%.
Yeah, I think just like limiting it, and it just kind of it allows you it kind of gives it a bit more like of a surreal vibe because like people aren't in like skin tones necessarily. Like the people are in like blues and pinks and stuff. like there is some skin tones, but like. For example, like Bennett, he's like the ghost and he's actually green. He's not like the typical like see-through, like bluey kind of guy. Gotcha. And so yeah, it just gives us like it kind of creates more of like a surreal, otherworldly vibe to it. So which I think really
that works. I think and because of the genre that you're playing with, I think those colors pop pretty well to do what they're supposed to be doing. Freaking sweet. I love it. So let's talk perks. Let's talk bundlings. What we got going on for this Kickstarter?
Well, obviously we have like Sister Grimm 3 is kind of what we are building right now or creating. It's being illustrated in pencils right now. Starting to be inked. When this comes out, who knows where it could be? Maybe it's done. But yeah, so there's obviously that one, and for people who haven't got Sister Grimm before, there's obviously issues 1 and 2 as well, so you can bundle them all. They're available in add-ons or the whole bundle. You can like pick and choose whatever you want. And then there is the anthology, like the flip book that I had here.
Sweet.
Like if you, because that basically gives you, you don't need to necessarily read it. Like we try and make all of our titles where they can be standalones, but everything, like obviously there's a whole bunch of more titles in the universe, and it's always like the more you read, the more puzzle pieces that kind of get like added. Like you will not be confused just by reading Sister Grimm, but like if you want to glimpse at a little bit of her origin story, you can go read that. Or if you want to glimpse at like the rest of the world, you can go read Messiah or OPSEC or anything like that.
Excellent.
So we also have like a first issues bundle, which features all those titles. So it has OPSEC in Person and Dead of Night and Messiah. And then I'm going off of memory here now.
Uh-oh.
What else is there?
Lord, don't hurt yourself. Don't you do it.
Aneurysm. Thought too hard. But yeah, basically, there's also our last Kickstarter, because we kind of decided to come into the Kickstarter realm because there's this great supportive crowdfunding community, and so we wanted to test it out, and it's been really great so far.
Absolutely.
So we brought that anthology was written in prose, so no illustrations, and we decided to turn it into a comic. So we took so there are 3 issues of that right now, and then the last Kickstarter, which we're still fulfilling, like it will be fulfilled like July, August. It has 6 illustrated stories from that original anthology, so you can actually like see, like if you want to see the Sister Grimm's origin story, like Sweet Dreams is in there, and you can go find it in that version. So the graphic novel's there, and then we have some kind of like some stretch goals, of course. I guess there's also some art. Ricky Romero, he did this like great illustration of Lillian Bennett. There's also the pendant. I think the blue one shows it the best. This like triangle here, it's actually like a pendant. Yeah. So we actually like had someone make the pendant, so you can have like a physical piece of it, and it's this key to the dream realm. Very so cool. It's pretty cool that way. And then there's some new exclusive rewards, like we have some stretch goals. There's some new stickers, and I've been these will eventually be done, but we have these,
and that's what exactly I was about to go to.
Yeah.
the hand decorated skulls. Like,
eventually, this is obviously very undecorated. It's actually just been primed so far, but yeah, we're gonna hand decorate some skulls and make each one unique and collectors. And there'll be a few that are very like comic specific, where like the color palette and like the main character is Lily, so there'll probably be some lilies. But there also be like, it's fun just making skulls. So like maybe we'll get creative with it and start going bold and reds and who knows.
And so on and so forth.
Snakes, like stuff that has nothing to do with the comic, but they're just fun because skulls.
Very cool. Very cool. And as always, I see that in part of the stretch goals is always the Any One World single issues from everybody from Any One World with your other stretch goals, which is always great to see. And to always give support to all of us that's in that group, and we always appreciate it. So that's always great to see.
Well, there's a certain first issue in there.
There is a certain first issue in there from a certain
Not
someone.
Me, but...
who
I don't
could
know
it
where
be?
you are on the screen.
I'm somewhere on there. That is tremendous.
Little sneak peek into trouble.
Exactly, but that's tremendous. That's tremendous. So. As always, I love every time that you actually put pen to paper and try to put something in together and be creative and not just editing all the time. So it's always great to see that you're
there's definitely like I don't regret being editor in chief. Like it's fun and you get to work with people, but it definitely like it takes up some time.
But it does.
So I do a little less writing.
yeah, very much so, very much so. That Kickstarter looks fantastic, and I'm pretty sure everybody and their grandmama is gonna back it. So one last question here, Laurie, which is I ask all my guests every time: how far are we going to be taking Sister Grimm? How far is this art going to go? Because I remember when it was just a twinkle in your eye and a thought in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, maybe it'll be an issue. But now we're up to number 3. How far is this art going to go?
For sure. So all of our titles are set up to be 4 issues. So it's basically like a complete story.
Okay.
Like there's some kind of catharsis. Like maybe all the loose ends aren't tied up because obviously if people want more, it'd be fun to have the option to keep the story going. But yeah, so like this first issue arc is basically like her coming to terms with like this new power. And then beyond there, If we want to keep going, we can. If we also have, because we have multiple issues, we can start like maybe we combine some or create a new title, or like maybe people are like, hey, I hate Lily, like, but let's do something with Bennett, and I'm like, all right, maybe we shut down this storyline and go go have a series about a ghost or something. But the plan is to like, but yeah, for 4 issues is so sure. People don't have to like wait for like 30 issues. So it'll be complete pretty soon.
Yeah, that's always good.
But for those who want more, let us know, and we could probably keep it going.
That makes sense to me. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. So, Laurie, as always, I want to thank you from the bottom of my cold, dark heart for coming on to the show and sharing this great Kickstarter with me. ASAP's been on the rise for a couple years now, and to be able to be a part of it as well has always been a privilege for me. But to see that you yourself are getting elbow deep into the creative circle always brings joy to my heart, and to see how well this is going, it makes me very proud. I'm very happy for you.
You've been there since my original Corruption, where I'm like, I'm just going to write one story for ASAP. You were there at the beginning, so I'm very honored that you're still with us as well, and that I can come crash your show.
Oh yeah, anytime you come crash the show to share all your great work. So everybody, the Kickstarter is now live. It will be a link in the description section below. Definitely check it out and support without question. And Laurie, where can everybody find you on social media and all that great stuff?
I always make myself hard to find because I have different handles on every single one.
Oh no.
I feel like I'm still the most active on Twitter, so it's LAURCUNN, and then I have a website, LACunningham.com, and I think from there you should be able to find me, but I'm on Instagram. Actually, I feel like the best way to go is just find ASAP, and eventually you'll find a post where I'm tagged, because ASAP is the same everywhere. So ASAP Imagination, go find them, and then you
that makes sense.
Indirectly. That's probably the easiest way.
that might be the key to the kingdom there.
yeah, that's just the easiest way, rather than like trying to guess what all my handles are. Maybe one day I'll change it, but probably not.
Well, anyway, Laura, this has been freaking tastic. I'm so glad that you took the time to come and talk to me on this fine day.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
So everybody, that there is L.A. Cunningham. Follow her on all her dope social media platforms. I will leave a link in the description section below as well. And who am I? I'm Dre, the Brew Dance. Follow me on my dope social media platforms as well. I'll put them right on. Wait, no. I'll put it right on my face. They're not there yet, but they will be at TheRoot00 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I feel like being silly on TikTok. And we're talking about indie, so we have to always cross promote. Troubled Rhythm Within is available currently. I'll also leave that in a link in the description section below. Check out my graphic novel. I'm sure you will thoroughly enjoy that as well. So this has been the Indie Corner. You all have been fantastic. And make sure you click on all the other things that are popping up on the screen right now. And have yourselves a fantastic day. And I will catch you all next time.